Aloha everybody and welcome to part 6 of Sonic Generations. We are back on my Xbox 360 save file, which means that Casino Nights DLC is gone forever. But we did clear all of the challenge acts, and we got the 3 boss gate keys, which means we can now open the boss gate room and leave this era behind. Well, that song sounds awfully familiar. I wonder who we're going to be meeting in here.
Take a good look at yourself, Sonic.
Dr. Eggman!
It's the last look you'll get before I close your eyes forever.
Another Sonic? What? Wait a second!
That's right, we're now taking on Dr. Eggman, and depending on which version you're playing, the boss fight is completely different. So first off, we're going to be playing the 3DS version, which happens to be the Big Arm Eggmobile, which was the final boss of standalone Sonic the Hedgehog 3. And I've already hit this boss 5 times, and I only have to hit him 3 more times to defeat him. At first, when he keeps slamming the ground, you know, making this ground pound effect, you could easily jump into his Eggmobile at least 2 times, and every time he dips down. And then he tries to slap you from the edge, which is easy to spin dash out of the way of. And then he goes back to his familiar tactic of trying to grab you and power bomb you, so you have to jump over his arms into the cockpit, but you can't jump too high, otherwise you're going to land on the spikes that are on top of the Eggmobile. So careful jumping is necessary here. But I defeated him in 44 seconds. Not nearly as hard as it used to be, and it's criminal because the theme song that plays during this boss fight is so damn good, and the boss fight ends before it gets into the good parts. Hey. Eggman, you're piloting a giant mecha robot that walks really slowly. You're facing off with Sonic the Hedgehog, who happens to be the fastest thing alive. That's his gimmick, he runs really fast. I think he could catch the Death Egg robot if he wanted to. I'm just saying. But I digress. We are fighting the Death Egg robot, the final boss of Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And the first phase is pretty simple. He uses his claws to attack you. You can see from the cursor where he's going to be attacking. And then he tries to flatten you by jumping on you, and you run under the jump so that you can kick him in the ass. Once you've kicked him in the ass twice, you go up to this higher area where all of a sudden now we have all these switches and these time bombs. Eggman is still going to be trying to attack you with his claws, so you still have to move out of the way of that. But if you lead Eggman to where the time bombs are, he will contact with those, the Death Egg robot will get short-circuited, it will get stunned, and that gives you a chance to ride up the arm and deal some damage to Eggman's head. So all you're really doing is you're flipping a switch, go to a time bomb, Eggman hits it, misses you, ride the arm, and yeah, 4 hits and this boss fight's done. See, I remember that boss fight being a lot harder. I might have the foggiest memory, but I remember the Death Egg robot in Sonic 2 being... I seem to remember getting game overs with him, but not this time around, Oh well.
What? No! No! Sonic! Save me! Ah!
I can't believe there's two of me.
I think I figured it out. Yeah, me too. Doubles of us? Places and enemies from our past? We're traveling through time and space!
How did this happen?
I think it's got something to do with that big thing that just kidnapped Eggman. It sounds like the same thing that kidnapped your friends. I mean our friends. You know what I mean. There it is! Where'd it go?
We need to find that thing, and fast!
And at long last, the two Sonics have finally joined together. By defeating Dr. Eggman, we've expanded the white space. We are now in an entirely new era of Sonic, and we have 3 new zones that we can tackle in whichever order that we want. By defeating the Death Egg robot, you are given the Green Chaos Emerald. This is a mandatory emerald that you will collect as part of the story. But we both know that's not how it works in the 3DS version. You have to play through Act 1 and Act 2 of Green Hill Zone in order to get the opportunity to tackle Special Stage 1, so that's what we're going to be doing now to get the Green Chaos Emerald. Fun fact, the cutscene leading up to the Eggman boss fight, there's actually 2 versions of that cutscene. You've noticed every time I've saved one of Sonic's friends, there have been 2 different endings. One where they address modern Sonic, and one where they address classic Sonic. That is dependent entirely on which acts you clear in which order. Like, I could choose to do Act 2 first and Act 1 second, and if I do, that means that classic Sonic is going to be the one talking to the friends at the end. It's a very similar situation with the boss gate. I entered as modern Sonic, so the camera was behind him, it was from his perspective, classic Sonic was the reflection in the mirror. However, if I chose to enter the boss gate as classic Sonic, it would have been behind his perspective, and modern Sonic would have been the reflection in the mirror. I'm not going to bother showing off the different cutscene. It's pretty much the exact same dialogue. Modern Sonic still gets left hanging out to dry, and Classic goes off to fight Eggman. But it's worth mentioning, Sonic Team did make 2 versions of that cutscene, and many others in this game, just 'cause. And they didn't really have to do that, but they did, so... odd detail, you know?
I got this!
And now we come up to a major story difference in the console and 3DS versions. So, you know, after defeating Dr. Eggman, a whole bunch of badniks show up, and Sonic does what he does naturally. He performs the homing attack, and he thrashes them, right? That move's called a homing attack. Want to give it a try? Classic Sonic, so inspired by his future self, decides to pull off the homing attack on these badniks, and he picks it up like a champ. In fact, he masters it. Which means that Classic Sonic can now do the homing attack, and he does it in gameplay. Now for real, you can go back to Green Hill, Casino Night, Mushroom Hill, and Classic Sonic will now perform the homing attack on badniks, and he will be performing the homing attack in all of the future Classic Sonic levels that we tackle. That doesn't happen in the console version. So, yeah. Anywho, folks, we're moving on to a new zone. And this place looks awfully familiar. What is this? What is this? It's... oh my god! It's Emerald Coast, the first stage from Sonic Adventure for the Sega Dreamcast. A game changer in the Sonic franchise, if I do say so myself. It gave Sonic the green eyes, it gave Dr. Eggman his new fancy jacket, it changed the perspective of the series from 2D to 3D. Yes, I know, Sonic 3D Blast happened, blah blah blah. But the point is, everything changed with Sonic Adventure. We even got all those Jun Senoi rock ballads that weren't in any of the previous games. So of course, Sonic Generations would be crazy to omit Sonic Adventure in its lineup. But yeah, as you can see, I jump and there's a cursor on Badniks, there's a cursor on Springs. Classic Sonic can now perform the homing attack. It's definitely something that doesn't happen in the console version unless you go to a skill shop after acquiring a certain skill. The 3DS doesn't have a skill shop, by the way. Oh my god, it's the killer whale! He's still trying to crush me! Jesus Christ! This section's actually a little bit tricky because you can't fall into the water. There's lots of open spaces. There's lots of open spaces with this bridge, and it's very easy to fall in and die that way. So you have to jump every time you're reaching the end of a platform, but sometimes you can overshoot and jump so far that you actually go into another body of water. And the great helpful tip I have for that section is that, along with the homing attack, Classic Sonic also gets the ability to do an air dash. Like, if you have nothing to lock onto and you push the jump button a second time in the air, he will propel a little bit forward. So sometimes you'll jump, find that you're about to land in some water, but if you do it a well-timed air dash, you'll be able to make it to a second platform of the bridge, and that'll save you quite a bit. But, yeah. I really like this level. This is my favorite Classic Sonic level of the 3DS version. Anytime I boot up Sonic Generations on 3DS, I always come back to this level because, one, I love Emerald Coast's theme song, I love how the homing attack chains are set up, I love running away from the whale, I love these loop-de-loops. This level, to me, is just so damn fun and so damn replayable that every time I boot up 3DS Generations, I always come back to this one. Such a great level, such a great sense of nostalgia, and I just want to replay Sonic Adventure now. I just want to replay Sonic Adventure now. Dimps, of course, made the 3DS version of Sonic Generations. It's kind of weird that they gave Classic Sonic a homing attack, right? Because, like, think about it. The previous classic levels that we played up to this point were all taken directly from their original games. Casino Night, Mushroom Hill, Green Hill, they were all taken from the games they came from. The classic version, anyway. And then when we finally start moving into original territory for Classic Sonic, Dimps decides out of the blue, we're gonna give him a homing attack. Does Dimps not know how to make Sonic games without homing attacks anymore? Are they so dependent on homing attacks that they just can't do it without it? Maybe that explains Sonic the Hedgehog 4. Because they did Sonic the Hedgehog 4 too, and what did Sonic have in that game? He had a homing attack, he had an air dash. Were they telling Sonic Team, like, look, we'll be happy to do Sonic the Hedgehog 4, but for realsies, we need to have a homing attack, guys. We can't do a Sonic game without a homing attack. That is just not happening. I don't know. It's weird. It's just they had to have a homing attack for Classic Sonic, but yeah. The modern level's not too bad. There is a bottomless pit coming up here that I think everyone dies to. Right there. That's a bottomless pit. And they don't even have an orange death sign like they usually do for every other pit. So what the hell? Whoa! 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 Yeah! That's what you get! That's what you get for trying to eat us for so many years, you goddamn whale! I hope you learned your lesson. But, yeah, good stuff, good stuff. But yeah, that was Emerald Coast. Come back for part 7, ladies and gentlemen, where we go to another Sonic Adventure level that takes us up, down, and all around. But, before I go, the Big Arm boss fight for the 3DS. Way too short. It ends in like 40 seconds to a minute, and that is criminal because the theme song that plays during that boss fight, the remix of the final boss theme from Sonic 3 and Knuckles, is so damn good. And I'm sorry, but I have to end this video on that theme song because it's criminal if I don't show it off. It's criminal that it goes unheard. That boss fight is way too short to show off this magnificent piece of music. And, I love this track so much.